Chapter 7. A comparison of a mother's and father's affections. In this chapter are some mountain peaks of eloquence. Reason of the sons, lord over the passions. O religion, that was dearer to the mother than her children. The mother, having two choices before her, religion and the present saving alive of her 7 sons according to the tyrant's promise, loved rather religion, which saveth up to eternal life according to God. Oh, how may I express the passionate love of parents for children? We stamp a marvelous likeness of our soul and of our shape on the tender nature of the child, and most of all through the mother's sympathy with her children being deeper than the father's. For women are softer of soul than men, and the more children they bear, the more do they abound in love for them. But, of all mothers, she of the 7 sons abounded in love beyond the rest, seeing that, having in 7 childbearings felt maternal tenderness for the fruit of her womb, and having been constrained because of the many pangs in which she bore each to a close affection, she nevertheless through the fear of God rejected the present safety of her children. Aye, and more than that, through the moral beauty and goodness of her sons and their obedience to the law, her maternal love for them was made stronger. For they were just, and temperate, and brave and great-souled, and lovers of each other and of their mother in such manner that they obeyed her in the keeping of the law even up to death. But nevertheless, though she had so many temptations to yield to her maternal instincts, in no single instance did the dreadful variety of tortures have power to alter her reason, but the mother urged each son separately, and all together, to die for their religion. O holy nature, and parental love, and yearning of parents for offspring, and wages of nursing, and unconquerable affection of mothers! The mother, seeing them one by one racked and burned, remained unshaken in soul for religion's sake. She saw the flesh of her sons being consumed in the fire, and the extremities of their hands and feet scattered on the ground, and the flesh covering, torn off from their heads right to their cheeks, strewn about like masks. O mother, who now knew sharper pangs than the pangs of labor! O woman, alone among women, the fruit of whose womb was perfect religion! Thy firstborn, giving up the ghost, did not alter thy resolution, nor thy second, looking with eyes of pity on thee under his tortures, nor thy third, breathing out his spirit. Neither didst thou weep when thou beheldest the eyes of each amid the torments looking boldly on the same anguish, and sawest in their quivering nostrils the signs of approaching death. When thou sawest the flesh of one son being severed after the flesh of another, and hand after hand being cut off, and head after head being flayed, and corpse cast upon corpse, and the place crowded with spectators on account of the tortures of thy children, thou sheddest not a tear. Not the melodies of the sirens nor the songs of swans with sweet sound do so charm the hearer's ears, as sounded the voices of the sons, speaking to the mother from amid the torments. How many and how great were the tortures with which the mother was tormented, while her sons were being tortured with torments of rack and fire! But inspired reason lent her heart a man's strength under her passion of suffering, and exalted her to make no account of the present yearnings of mother love. And although she saw the destruction of her 7 children, and the many and varied forms of their torments, the noble mother willingly surrendered them through faith in God. For she beheld in her own mind, even as it had been cunning advocates in the council chamber, nature, and parenthood, and mother love, and her children on the rack, and it was as if she, the mother, having the choice between 2 votes in the case of her children, one for their death and one to save them alive, thereupon regarded not the saving of her 7 sons for a little time, but, as a true daughter of Abraham, called to mind his God-fearing courage. O mother of the race, vindicator of our law, defender of our religion, and winner of the prize in the struggle within thyself! O woman, nobler to resist than men, and braver than warriors to endure! For as the ark of Noah, with the whole living world for her burden in the world-whelming deluge, did withstand the mighty surges, so thou, the keeper of the law, beaten upon every side by the surging waves of the passions, and strained as with strong blasts by the tortures of thy sons, didst nobly weather the storms that assailed thee for religion's sake. Thus then, if one both a woman and advanced in years, and the mother of 7 sons, endured the sight of her children being tortured to death, The inspired reason must confessedly be supreme ruler over the passions. I have proved, accordingly, that not only have men triumphed over their sufferings, but that a woman also has despised the most dreadful tortures. And not so fierce were the lions around Daniel, not so hot was the burning fiery furnace of Mishael, as burned in her the instinct of motherhood at the sight of her 7 sons being tortured. But by her religion-guided reason the mother quenched her passions, many and strong as they were. For there is this also to consider, that had the woman been weak of spirit, despite her motherhood, she might have wept over them, and perchance spoken thus: "Ah, thrice wretched me, and more than thrice wretched. 7 children have I borne and am left childless. In vain was I 7 times with child, and to no profit was my 10 months' burden 7 times borne, and fruitless have been my nursings, and sorrowful my sucklings. In vain for you, O my sons, did I endure the many pangs of labor, and the more difficult cares of your upbringing. Alas, for my sons, that some were yet unwed, and those that were wedded had begotten no children. I shall never see children of yours, nor shall I be called by the name of grandparent. Me, that had many beautiful children, and am a widow and desolate in my woe. Neither will there be any son to bury me when I am dead." But the holy and God-fearing mother wailed not with this lamentation over any one of them, neither besought she any to escape death, nor lamented over them as dying men, but, as though she had a soul of adamant and were bringing forth the number of her sons, for a second time, into immortal life, she besought rather and entreated of them that they should die for religion's sake. O mother, warrior of God in the cause of religion, old and a woman, thou didst both defeat the tyrant by thy endurance, and wast found stronger than a man, in deeds as well as words. For verily when thou wast put in bonds with thy sons, thou stoodest there seeing Eleazar being tortured, and thou spakest to thy sons in the Hebrew tongue: My sons, noble is the fight, and do ye, being called thereto to bear witness for our nation, fight therein zealously on behalf of the law of our fathers. For it would be shameful if, while this aged man endured the agony for religion's sake, you that are young men shrank before the pain. Remember that for the sake of God ye have come into the world, and have enjoyed life, and that therefore ye owe it to God to endure all pain for his sake, for whom also our father Abraham made haste to sacrifice his son Isaac, the ancestor of our nation. And Isaac, seeing his father's hand lifting the knife against him, did not shrink. And Daniel, the just man, was cast to the lions, and Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael were flung into the furnace of fire, and they endured for God's sake. And ye also, having the same faith up to God, be not troubled, for it were against reason that ye, knowing righteousness, should not withstand the pains. With these words, the mother of the 7 encouraged every single one of her sons to die rather than transgress the ordinance of God. They themselves also knowing well that men dying for God live up to God, as live Abraham, and Isaac, and Jacob, and all the patriarchs.